which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I salute the flag of the state of New Mexico, the sea is symbol of perfect friendship among united cultures. Thank you.
Roll call, please.
Mr. Richard Primrose.
Here.
Ms. Teresa Stevenson.
Yes.
Mr. Tom Sidwell.
Here.
Here.
Mr. Jimmy Sandoval.
Here.
Mr. Cody Fox.
Present.
Okay, thank you. Next is approval of the agenda. Has everybody got a chance to look at the agenda and any additions or deletions?
I move we approve the agenda. Second.
Got a motion and a second to approve the agenda. Roll call, please.
Ms. Stevenson.
Here.
Yes.
We know you
today.
It's not your day today.
Yes.
Yes.
Mr. Sandoval.
Yes.
Mr. Fox.
Yes.
And Mr. Primrose.
Yes.
And motion carried.
All right, thank you. Ms. Ragland, do we have any public comment?
Yes.
All right, thank you. Next is approval of the regular board meeting on June 18th. Has everybody had a chance to read the minutes of the board meeting? Any additions or deletions?
I'll make a motion that we approve the minutes of the regular board meeting, June 18th.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. Roll call, please.
Mr. Sidwell.
Yes.
Mr. Sandoval.
Yes.
Mr. Fox.
Yes.
Mr. Primrose.
Yes.
And Ms. Stevenson.
Yes.
And motion carried.
Our next is our special board meeting on June 27th. You have your minutes for that special meeting. Is there any additions, deletions, or approval?
I move for approval of the special board meeting on June the 27th.
I second.
Motion and a second. Roll call, please.
Mr. Sandoval.
Yes.
Mr. Fox.
Yes.
Mr. Primrose.
Yes.
Ms. Stevenson.
Yes.
And Mr. Sidwell.
Yes.
And the motion carried.
Next, under the chairman's report, the only thing I have is I want to remind everybody that we're having the Stampede Golf Tournament, 26th, 27th, 28th at Tucumcari Municipal Golf Course, and we have the City of Tucumcari is allowing us, or giving us some lodgers tax funding, so they're helping with it. All the proceeds go to the Mesalands Foundation. So if you know of anybody that's a golfer, please sign up at the golf course, Charlie.
So larger sex fund give the college some money then, huh?
Yes, they actually gave us some last year too. So
Wow. What a change.
it's a good thing.
I
All
guess
right.
so.
Under reports, we start with Dr. Moss.
So first of all, I want to say thank you all. I know we've had a couple special meetings lately, and no one dislikes those more than I do, but sometimes we just got to have them, and my hope is, the further we go, the less we have to do that. With that said, I sent y'all a note earlier today that we may need to have, we need to have another special meeting hopefully next Monday. Ms. Arias is finishing up, closing out 2023 so that we can open 2025 to get our payroll converted over and start generating purchase orders, because we have bills that need to be paid this month. And so, she's been working to get all the entries put in and get that closed out. And the reason it's taking longer now is because we're trying to get everything as ready as possible as we're going through the 2023 audit. Last year, we probably were we just shut 2022 down and moved on, and then we went back later on and fixed it. Now we're trying to get everything ready so that that audit looks a little better. And speaking of the state auditor, I'd said she was supposed to be here this week. I had asked her a question about the CDs Thursday or Friday, and she sent me an email yesterday morning, said, well, kind of passing my question on to someone else and said, we'll see y'all next week. And so evidently she won't be here this week. It'll be next week. But that's one reason we need to have a special meeting, get those purchase orders approved, and then move on. Speaking of lodger's tax, I don't know that I've ever mentioned this, but so not only did they approve money for the golf tournament, but some other things that I know Mr. McVeigh has worked on, and we've had conversations with the city, and they've approved some funds, like they approved funds to help with the Cinco de Mayo that we had out of lodger's tax in May. They approved some funds to help a rodeo promote it, because again, that's something that brings people from out of town. Lodger's tax also has approved for the second year billboards that promote our dinosaur museum. So we're really trying to take advantage of some of that funding that we hadn't been able to do for a few
If you
years.
can't get everything you can at a city, because the one thing they don't like is education.
There's a few things they've said no, but they've really been supportive for that. So great thing there. The study that HED is doing on Mesalands, I haven't heard anything since we sent in a little bit of information on a request about 4 weeks ago. I sent an email this morning just to see if there's any update on progress or anything we needed to send or expect, but I haven't heard anything back on it. Other than my report, I've got a couple other updates. Mr. Primrose and I talked yesterday about ACCT I don't know if y'all have gotten the email. They've been advertising if you register for, you could maybe win a free retreat or a training. I think that's where they would support it, pay for it, or whatever, whether they came out here or did some. And so I thought, and I don't know if Mr. Primrose was going to do it or.
I did sign up for
Okay.
it this
Okay.
afternoon, as a matter of fact.
Okay.
That's when I saw the email.
Let's see, Mesalands studies. And then, in addition to my report, Mr. Martinez and I talked a little bit this morning. I think we're both in agreement. Maybe Miss Arias would start presenting some of the financial reports when she catches her breath from what she's doing right now. Maybe next month or the month after, there'll be a little more informative voice than what I can give you on financials. So that's all I can think of, unless y'all have any questions.
Any questions for Dr. Moss? If not, we'll move on to the certificate of deposit rates.
So, thank Mr. Bach for bringing this up again, and I hate that we didn't do something sooner. I did some investigating with the local banks. One of the questions I posed the state auditor was, I kind of got conflicting views on whether banks were required to provide the public funds or not. But I still haven't gotten a clear answer from them. What I do know is that at least some of the local banks are willing to accept those funds at the public funds rate. I know Tucumcari Federal, and that's why theirs have been higher. Citizens Bank, you all got that letter, and they also have that willingness. Wells Fargo and Bank of Logan, Clovis is not, but one of the things Garrett said was sometimes that's not very reliable. Sometimes that rate drops and sometimes is less. And I may not be quoting it exactly right, but there was a reason for why theirs were lower. Everyone's Federal Credit Union, I didn't get anything, I don't think, in writing, but he said, you know, it's been in there since like 2008 and never been touched, and that's why, I guess why nothing had ever changed on it. But they were willing, especially if we were to put two together, to maybe accept at least one under that rate. And then I completely forgot to send anything to New Mexico Bank and Trust, but I tried to cover the area ones. You don't have to make a decision tonight. This is something we could move to next week, but I would recommend at this point, I think, going with one of those banks that's willing to do the public, whatever that's called, public rate, to do it. I think that's the move that we need to make.
It looks like Citizens and Tucumcari Federal are the two that would do the 5.13.
And what I've been told on it, they can pay that rate or higher. If they choose to pay a higher rate, fine. They didn't say, whenever I was asking questions, they didn't say we have the ability to pay less. It's kind of, we're required to pay that rate as a minimum.
Yeah.
But if we want to pay more, we can.
Well, that's why I sent that question to the state auditor. I said, you know, can you give me some advice on the law? Is it a requirement if we put funds in a bank, in a CD or something, that they pay that rate, or is it optional? And then they answered back like, well, we can't really give advice. And I wasn't asking for advice or an opinion on who to give it to. I just wanted to know whether they had to or not.
Yeah.
But you definitely, nobody offered to pay more than the public rate.
Well, then probably not, if they're paying higher than they normally are.
Yeah.
But one of the things is finding out where you find out where those rates are daily, where you can go in and look at them.
Yeah.
Where, you know, when you're looking and one of them's coming up for renewal, at least you can kind of look and see, hey, we got some options. This and you know, I like the credit union, but their rates is a joke these days, you know, what they've been paying us.
And even if we take some out early, the rate or the penalty is so small, it would be worthwhile to take all of them out and move them.
Right.
Move them, or like I said, everyone's was willing to do at least one if we wanted to, because the banks, and this was pretty much a common explanation, you know, it's not always worthwhile to banks to pay that much. And so typically they want to offer other services. You know, they do it if they're also providing other services along with it. And so that's why some banks choose not to do it.
I think we need to move that money either to Citizens or Tucumcari Federal. You know, like you say,
I do
it's
too.
not
Do we need a motion to do that?
It
this
is an,
time?
it is
that
an
action?
action item, so yes, we can
You can
decide.
get it out anytime we want to. We do have to stay there.
What about a money market fund? Did you ask about those? 'Cause
I did not.
I think, let's see, I can't remember now, but Citizens. I can't remember. But theirs, they pay pretty well on the money market. And you've got a lot more options and flexibility with that.
Mm.
You know, if you need some quick
I
money.
know Tucumcari Federal's money market is less than the CD rate right now.
Yeah, and I don't,
So
yeah.
person just have to shop it and see
You have to show
the
it,
time
but-
one is ready for
So
renewal.
it's, you know, it's a disadvantage as far as the rate, but an advantage if you think
May need some money out
you
of
need
it.
to get some money out.
Yeah.
And then compare that to, well, if you withdrew, from a CD, you know, what's that gonna cost versus,
I could do some comparison between now and next Monday if you want to wait on that decision. I mean, that's,
yeah, it doesn't matter to me, but, I'm just saying,
Yeah.
That with a money market, you know, if you feel like you need the money or some money for something that it's available.
Right.
That's,
And it just seems like to me, we need to be getting the most we can out of that, cause that's the easiest money we can get.
I agree.
And we don't have to ask the state if we can and so forth like that, so.
The,
And if it's close, okay,
Yeah.
but everyone's has been so far below that has a concern for me.
what is it, World Bank, US World Bank or something in Clovis actually pays better than they do here in Tucumcari on their CDs. But I'm sure you want to keep it local.
Well, I mean, that's what I've told someone a few weeks ago. We want to do everything we can to do local, but if it's so much difference that it's hurting us, then we're going to have to go outside of, whether it's CDs or feed or whatever we're looking for. You can't spend 5,000 more just to keep it local.
We gotta be reasonable about it.
They may be worth checking with them too.
I mean, if I can gather some more information, if y'all want to table that.
I think I'd rather go that way.
Either that or, my suggestion is to take the money out of everyone's credit union and put maybe half in Citizens and half in Tucumcari Federal. I don't know. Whatever, but we can wait till Monday if y'all want to.
Well, and we don't have anything in Citizens now.
Right.
So we could, if we wanna move it all over there,
Put
and,
it all in
cause
Citizens.
we have a good bit at Tucumcari Federal,
Right,
that would kinda spread it out amongst the local folks.
that'd be good with me too.
And if everyone wants to step up and do some matching, I'm great with leaving it there, but I think maybe some negotiating with them and say, hey, look, either you step up to the plate and pay a reasonable amount or we're gonna move it.
That's it, period.
And
I-
court said only one?
That's what he indicated to me, like, so we have 4 there, right? And so he said, if you wanted to combine 2 of them, so that it's like around 100,000, they would be willing to pay that public funds rate with 1. And he was super willing to help. It wasn't a question of, I have a feeling they've just been sitting there so long, nobody's thought to check on them.
Yeah,
I think so too.
so they're all around 50.
Cause they like to get the money as cheap as possible too, you know.
So, whether you, took it all out and moved it, or left, 2 of them in there and combined them, and he said too, if we wanted to do that, I think I'll get this as close to word, he said he would look at waiving any, early fees or something so that he could move those into a higher interest. But that would still leave, 2 that are a little over 50,000 to move someplace else, which could go to Citizens or wherever y'all want to.
Yeah. I think that's the thing to do.
Combine 2 of them to leave another one there, and then the other 2 move, is that kind of what you're?
So if we combine the 2 that are making a little over 2% and kept them at everyone's credit union, the other 2 are 0.6 and 1.1. We take those out and move them to Citizens.
Yeah,
Then you're spreading it out between 3 of the local banks at least.
That would be
Right.
good.
Do I hear a motion to that effect?
I so move.
And I second whatever you said.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Roll call, please.
Mr. Fox,
Yes,
Ms.
Yes.
Ms. Stevenson,
Yes.
Mr. Sidwell,
Yes.
and Mr. Sandoval.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Next is the financial report. The only thing I would suggest, we've been getting the download has been in Excel, and it's just a scan version. This,
What? This was just a scanned version of a hard copy that Tammy sent to Nikki to copy, and she was supposed to send me the electronic version, but she went out of town
okay,
for, so I just scanned
okay,
what the hard copy was.
well, that's good.
So I'm sorry.
That's all right.
That's fine.
But the other, I mean, the Excel version is so much easier to read.
Yes, and yes,
Okay, just a one-time deal.
it is.
All right.
And our hope is to, like I've said, we're gonna have time to do it, but simplify that report and, probably move that over into the business service side of the office, and, that'll free Ms. Hall up for more human resource stuff.
Right.
And the amount looks great, but like I said, Mr. Martinez had disappointed me and said now about 500 and some thousand of that is insurance money. But we also haven't got reimbursed from HED for several things, and so it's probably a little less than that, but it's still a lot better than when we started the year, so.
Any questions on the financial report? If not, I'll stand for a motion to approve.
Make a motion that we approve the financial report.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. Roll call, please.
Mr. Burrows,
Yes.
Ms. Stevenson,
Yes.
Mr. Sidwell,
Yes.
Mr. Sandoval,
Yes.
Mr. Fox.
Yes.
The motion carried.
All right. Next on the agenda is Mr. Kaiser.
Hello.
How are you doing?
Good, thank you. Members of the board, Mr. Chairman, you have my board report for the month of July for academics. And just some highlights here. We're coming to an end of our summer course offering bracket on the 24th of July, and it's not too long after that, on the 12th of August, our fall session will begin. And our goal is to have our main campus courses and our correctional courses start in alignment this year, which we're gonna keep our fingers crossed. It's gonna take a lot of work. So I'll keep updates on how that process is gonna happen. And as far as the division, some highlights in here. The board report highlights, we're reviewing job descriptions and duties, making sure everybody knows their role, their descriptions, and what's expected of them for the next year. We're also working on MOU agreements with area high schools and formulating some plans to actually have different outreach where we can take instructors, we can take student affairs team out and actually recruit at these locations. Big highlights on the campus, and I don't think this is actually mentioned in this report, was the efforts of our staff and our community ed instructors during this last week. We had a summer kids camp, and with the kids camp, even though they're kids, they run everyone around and they keep our staff members busy. And I think they had a really successful first week, and Miss Kim Enriquez put the kids camp together and got all that information out and worked with our instructors. So thanks to Miss Enriquez and again all those community ed instructors. And this week we actually have trio on campus and our esports camp. So if you're in the A building and you hear a lot of screaming and yelling, it's actually coming out of the esports lab because they have headsets on and they're playing. You know, they're practicing. They're engaged in their games and they're not aware of how loud they are. So they're having a great time too. So those are I think those are the highlights of my board report. It's gonna be short and sweet. And I do have an agenda item, and it's for the approval of the nursing handbook. And a little background on that nursing handbook. Why is that important to have a nursing handbook for our institution and our students? The biggest thing is it outlines the resources and expectations for those nursing cohorts. It gives them a framework of their obligations, the rules, a clear breakdown of the course fees, all the course information. And on the accreditation end, it helps strengthen and prepare us for that ASIN accreditation and of course our Board of Nursing review, which are all coming up, and it's a weekly discussion we're having with our Director of Nursing Shannon Fries. And again, I want to take a moment to say thank you to Shannon and her faculty and staff. And for me, what I'm seeing is once this nursing handbook is in place, this is when the program on the paperwork side and the accreditation side really becomes real. I know we have students in cohorts, students going to clinicals, but for that paperwork component, you have to have some of your cohorts in play to actually build a handbook. So we're now seeing this entire program develop in real time, and that's to the efforts of our director and our faculty, staff, and students. So with that, I would kind of open up the floor for any questions.
Well, it's very detailed. Very, very.
Yeah, we needed something like that for the nursing.
I appreciate all the work that it's taken to build that, but I thought it was extremely detailed. And like you said, the students will know exactly what they can and cannot do and what the cost will be.
And it's also something to note is that it protects our students when they go off campus at these clinical sites as well, because they're actually working with patients in other institutions. So again, that handbook becomes very important for those off-site experiences, So it's also part of a lot of those other institutions doing business with us, so to speak, because they want to see that we have something that detailed, that framework, before they let those students in the institution.
Any questions for Mr. Kaiser on the handbook? Not, I'll entertain a motion to approve the nursing handbook.
I'll second.
You second?
First.
Do the
Move
first,
it.
make a motion
Oh,
first.
make a motion, okay. Kind of fell asleep there a little bit.
Have a motion and
Second.
have a second. Roll call, please. Mr. Fox.
Ms. Stevenson,
Yes.
Mr. Sidwell,
Yes.
Mr. Sandoval,
Yes.
Mr. Box,
Yes.
and Mr. Primrose,
Yes.
and the motion carried.
Looks like you're staying extremely busy, like always. Did you get a vacation?
I did.
All right.
I went to a splash pad in Dallas and Plano area with the kids, and I was soaking wet the entire day.
I'm glad you got some time
It
off,
cooled off.
because you've been busy.
So thank you.
Thank you very much. for everything you do. Mr. McVeigh is on vacation. Is there any questions on his report? So we have had a slight dip in enrollment from last year, but we're ahead of 2022, so.
And I'd just say, probably it was so high in the spring of 2023 because we had a really great academic outreach person during that, fall, spring semester.
I remember that.
A lot of it really is our dual, I think, is the drop in numbers because, remember we dropped several schools outside of our region, and that was, at least 150, maybe 170 students that, it's kind of a money losing thing anyway, and so we're really just trying to focus locally.
So, question, I just remembered, dual credit with the school in Albuquerque? That's,
With
an MOU that you're working on?
So we completed the MOU, and the process now, once we have an MOU complete, is it bounces to PED at state level for K through 12, and we're really kind of just waiting on them at this point. So it's official, that agreement with Amy Bell. I think it's a private school or a charter school up there.
Charter.
And at this point, we can plan on targeting some of those areas or discipline areas that they want to work back and forth with us on dual outreach, or even taking instructors up there to do, they just talked to me about this, to do demonstrations such as Gene Ross's silversmithing demonstration. So they're really excited about seeing that and having that. And the hope is that we can pull some of those students from Albuquerque. But that's us playing by the rules within this dual credit region. So if they reach out to us and we can offer something unique that's not in their geographic region, we can act on. But, I don't like to play by the rules, so I'm trying to keep everybody happy in that respect. But, yeah, it's challenging. And I wish, we just met with, an LFC team a couple of weeks ago, and I think that was something we brought up. There should be some sort of shared discussion and guidance where if we're gonna follow these rules, we expect other institutions to do the same.
Okay, thank you.
All right.
Is that the only school taking dual credit?
We have Tucumcari High, Logan. Most of the schools within our region, we have agreements with. Santa Rosa. The trick is each year around this time, we have to issue out a new MOU agreement and then really target in on what that institution's interested in. Because, some are interested in the nursing program, of course. Others are interested in cowboy arts and rodeo. So the trick is we haven't been going long enough post-COVID to tap back in and see what the trends are. But I think we're gonna see that after this year, and we'll know this is our school that's gonna bring us students for nursing pathway or vice versa.
Okay. Any other questions? If not, we'll move on to Mr. Martinez.
Good evening, Mr. Chair, members of the board. So I think y'all have been waiting for this day. I can finally say that the Building A project is finally complete. It's done, no more. So right now, we're waiting for the reimbursement that was submitted to HED before the end of the fiscal year. So with that, we'd be recovering an amount of $118,581.63 So that would tie into that chunk of funds where we discussed earlier, Dr. Moss did, about being quite favorable at the end of the fiscal year, but also, like you said, around 500 or so thousand that was from the insurance claim for the roof for building E, as well as some repair work to building A and D as well. So I did want to go over some unfortunate news. I just want to be transparent, that way everybody knows what's going on. But at the end of the fiscal year, we had multiple appropriations that reverted at the end of the fiscal year on June 30th of this year. And there are numerous reasons on why money had to go back. I'll start with the Building A project. That was appropriation E5311. We had to revert about $53,000 back, and the reasoning behind that is the original scope of work was completed. There was some additional work that was removed, I think, prior to my arrival at the college. There's some remodeling that wasn't necessary, and that decision was made both before Dr. Moss and I. And with that, if we would have continued with that original set scope, that would probably used up the remainder of the funds. The other one wasn't too bad. It was for the library geo bond. That was $252 that was reverted. And then the other two projects were the solar and wind energy project. Again, these are projects that were vetted. You have 4 years to spend these funds. So at that time, when the money was going through the legislative process to be appropriated or asked to be appropriated, it was a much different vision during that time, a lot of different ideas and concepts. And unfortunately, as things progress, sometimes those concepts are executed, or with new administration, it might be even changed. So with the wind and solar energy, at the time, there was discussion to move forward with maybe some more solar projects, maybe wind. It was undecided, that's why it was open-ended on the scope. But either way, those original plans, there was not enough funds to move forward with those original plans. Originally, I believe there was some $250,000 originally appropriated for that purpose, or it was reauthorized. And with that, I think they only had a year to spend that, or 2 years. But unfortunately, since only a portion of those funds were reauthorized, not the full 250 or whatever that amount was, it was not enough to support that. With that, we made every effort possible to go back and update much needed safety items, as well as training devices. There's some different electrical tables and whatnot that are outdated or not functioning that we need to replace to keep up with the latest technology for the wind energy program. However, after much trying and reaching back and forth with HED, those were not eligible expenses. To me, after reading the scope, I thought they were. However, they stated it was not. And if we risked any possibility where we wouldn't be refunded or reimbursed for that $100,000 for those items, I chose not to move forward, because obviously we were going to have to pay that out of our pocket. So we didn't move forward with that. And then the last was for the nurses' aid and phlebotomy facility renovation. That was $75,000. So the original scope was to have the nursing program housed at the old armory as it exists now. And unfortunately, to be able to bring that program to the old armory, they're going to have to construct walls, rooms, office space, everything needed. That was, and $75,000 with all that probably honestly wouldn't have went that far. So I think the intent was maybe to start planning and design and pay some engineers to design that scope of work. Thankfully, I'm not sure what happened. Again, this was something that happened before our time, but they chose to house the nursing program here in Building A, which was nice. We already had accommodations for office space. They had the computer rooms, the rooms for the simulation lab. So thankfully, they didn't need those funds to do that. There was talk, however, at the time, since we didn't want to revert those funds in the beginning, was to discuss maybe working on the restrooms if that was an ineligible scope within the work. It was. There's multiple reasons that we went back and forth whether or not we could get those restrooms completed. Many contractors told us the stucco needs to be fixed on the courtyard area where water had leaked in and there was mold. That was remediated a year or two ago. So it didn't really make sense to go through and try to renovate the restroom until the exterior was taken care of and repaired. So with that, I mean, some good news. It's always disappointing to give that money back, but thankfully the original scopes for those projects either were already met within these last 4 years, or we went in a new direction as far as vision with the college. But on a positive note, we are applying for the summer hearing project, capital project, to get further infrastructure improvements done that no matter who's here at the head of this ship, I think we all agree that the infrastructure needs to be upkept and protect the integrity of these buildings to move forward, provide a safe learning environment for students as well as for faculty and staff for them to work in. I also am happy to announce that there were some other items that are going to be covered by insurance that we didn't originally think were going to. So when we requested the funds, and we haven't presented yet for the big summer hearing project, some of that stucco work's actually gonna be covered due to the hail damage that we received in that storm event. So maybe with some of that savings, we had the scope of work fairly open. That way we have those funds now to go back and do the restrooms. We also have the funds available for BR&R as well, that rolled over, as well as for this new fiscal year 25, we have funds. And today, shortly before the meeting, I received the estimate for the insurance claim for the roof on Building E, along with some added alternates from some additional work that won't be covered by insurance, but we need to repair it anyhow. So that I'll be speaking to y'all next week about in that special meeting. And I would recommend that we do those additional alternatives because it's, again, something that has to be done. And if we have the contractor already on site and they're capable of doing those repairs, that's the time to do so, and we'll have VR&R funds to cover that. And then once all that's buttoned up, you have your exterior complete, now we can start talking about getting those restrooms renovated and moving things along. One other project that was not noted on here, and it's because it was not reverted, but I wanted to address it today as well, just so we're all aware. I guess it was a year or two ago, the college had requested some funds for an urgent care facility for the nursing program. With that, we have not been in compliance with the executive order for making sure that our audit's current. So therefore, we weren't eligible for the bond sale that happened last year. They put it up to, it goes through HED and you have to meet all the criteria, and it goes through the Department of Finance as well. And making sure that once we're in compliance and they go out for the bond sale, we're eligible for those funds. And that's another additional $78,000 for the nursing program, but it's specific to the urgent care facility. So I'm gonna see if, once we get further along with that and we're back in compliance with our audit, reaching out, whether it's to LFC or if it's to HED, if we could kind of use that maybe to work again towards something for the nursing program, but in Building A specific, something that fits where we're at this time. In my opinion, I don't believe we're at that point where we have the funds to start looking for an urgent care facility. I'd rather much less focus on what we have now and grow that and make it better before we get into something else that's maybe above our reach at this time. I also wanted to let everybody know that we continue to work with insurance, not only the quote I received today for the roofs and some exterior stucco work, but I've also been in contact with other contractors to do the exterior work and get quotes as well for the courtyard that I mentioned behind the restrooms, as well as the north stucco on Building A and the west side of Building E, which is the wind energy building. So we're being a lot more proactive. We've discussed internally what we need to do to make sure funds aren't reverted in the future. Stuff that was different scope that was out of our hands, but anything that we could control, we're being proactive. The GO bond for the library that reverts in June 30th of 2026, we're already ahead of that. We're talking about what we're gonna spend those funds on. As soon as the budget is open, we hope to have that ready to go by Thursday. The latest I've talked to Mrs. Audius, and she stated that the goal was to have it completely closed out, FY23 closed out by yesterday. Unfortunately, we're looking probably close of business tomorrow. And that's important because, again, we'll be coming before you next week in that special meeting with the requisitions that are over $20,000. And that, for example, would be the insurance premium for the college, the large expenditure of accepting the quote and contract with J3 Systems for the roofing project, things of that nature, so we can continue with business and start paying invoices And as Dr. Moss explained earlier, this is a little bit unique situation. We don't anticipate to be in this situation next year. And that's because staff is focusing really heavily on closing FY '23 the correct way, making sure everything is posted and accurate, not just rushing through it and getting it open for the sake of doing so, but making sure that it's accurate so that we avoid audit findings in the future and work towards a better situation financially overall as a financial audit standpoint. There's numerous other changes, a lot of other things going on. Fire Marshal's office, we communicated with them as required. I have staff working on procuring professional services to have all of our sprinkler systems tested, standpipes, things noted in our last inspection. But everything's going well. I'm proud of our entire staff. Everybody, they've been working really hard to make sure we got everything where it needs to be, making sure that payroll is being met. Very, very difficult situation that may not always be out there open to the public, but I appreciate what they've been doing. So this time I stand for any other further comments or questions.
Any other questions for Mr. Martinez? Yes.
Okay, I know you mentioned that, like, the library's grant or whatever you're already working on it, but with all that money that was reverted back, does that hurt our chances of other, future applications?
I guess it depends who you talk to, honestly. I mean, it's never good to give money back, but I think with the explanation, we just don't have excuses that we didn't spend it. There's reasons behind that, and if that is questioned, I'm willing to provide them reports, any documentation they'd want to see, the same as I'm doing now. That's part of us being transparent. We're not trying to hide anything. We want it to be out in the open, let everybody know, hey, look, we've faced some difficult time, and for numerous different reasons, these funds did not get spent. But it could be viewed negative by some, but I think others at HED, I think Dr. Moss has talked to Mr. Honey and others as well. They understand our situation and the reasoning behind that. And I think that also relays over to our local legislators. So the good relationship with them, we kind of express, hey, this is what's going on, and just keeping that open communication. That way they know exactly what's going on. And the GEO bond, that's very minimal. So we're lucky on the library side of things, but the others, I hope they respect that we didn't waste funds for the sake just to do so, that we followed the original scope. And if we couldn't meet that original scope, then unfortunately we didn't have the time to put a new project together that fit within the parameters of that legislative language. But I think we'll be fine moving forward, honestly.
So the exact words that I heard from Mr. Honey was, yes, we may draw some heat from it, but not from them, because they understand exactly what we were working through to get all this done. And I also got an email probably a month and a half ago, along with these projects that we had reverting, there was like 60 million across the state that was looking to be reverted because it hadn't been spent or pulled down. So it's not just us, but we all hate any time to not be able to use every dollar. But I kind of echo what Mark said. The business office, especially last week, I know they were here till at least late Thursday night, and probably some Friday as well. What they did basically was got payroll run even without the new year opened. But Larry Wickham, Rachel White, Tammy, Rochelle, all of them were able to get that processed, and it's kind of like on hold till we open the next year, and then they'll download that current data. But really, I don't know, proud's not the right word, but maybe it is that they were able to do that and put the effort in to keep that moving. So.
Any other questions?
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thanks for all you do. We do not have a chair covering Senate set. Next is executive session. I entertain a
Before we go
motion.
to the executive session, I got something to show you people what I have done. For one of the comments that he made The interview,
in the executive session?
we wanna go to executive session?
Yes.
All right. I'll go that far.
Okay. Got a motion to go in executive session?
Make a motion to go into executive session.
Second.
A motion and a second. Roll call, please.
Mr. Sidwell,
Yes.
Mr. Sandoval,
Yes.
Mr. Box,
Yes.
Mr. Primrose,
Yes.
and Ms. Stevenson,
Yes.
and the motion carried.
Yes.
Okay, I'll entertain a motion to reconvene from executive session.
Make a motion that we reconvene from the executive session.
Second.
A motion and a second, roll call please.
Mr. Sandoval,
Yes.
Mr. Box,
Yes.
Mr. Primrose,
Yes.
Ms. Stevenson,
Yes.
and Mr. Sitwell,
Yes.
and the motion carried.
All right, under action if needed, we have made a decision to offer the president's job to Dr. Alan Moss. That's an action item, so I guess we need
I so move that we offer the job to Dr. Moss.
Second.
Who seconded?
I did.
a motion and a second, roll call please.
Mr. Box,
Yes.
Mr. Primrose,
Yes.
Ms. Stevenson,
Yes.
Me?
yes,
Yes.
Mr. Sitwell, and Mr. Sandoval,
Yes.
and the motion carried.
We do have a contract drafted. The board has drafted it and we guess we'll have to approve it, but we're going to give Mr. Moss time to look at the contract and should be within 10 days, make sure it's okay with him. But, so on the agenda is approval of the contract.
I so moved that we approve the president's contract.
No, second.
Motion and second, roll call please.
Mr. Primrose,
Yes.
Ms. Stevenson,
Yes.
Mr. Sitwell,
Yes.
Mr. Sandoval,
Yes.
and Mr. Box,
Yes.
and the motion carried.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
I look forward to continuing what we've been doing.
This is kind of not correspondence, but I wanted to make a comment that we went through the process. We started out with 32 applicants, and we've got it down to enter the search committee. I really appreciate all the work that they did because they had 32 resumes and applications and references to check, and we got down to 7, and then 1 withdrew, so we interviewed 6, and then we had the top 5. We interviewed a couple more, and I want to thank all of the committee. I thank the trustees for looking at all of that information too. It's been a drawn out process, but I'm glad that we've come out with somebody that will take Mesalands forward. He already has. He's HED and HLC. They all think we're in the right direction, and we're doing the right process to get us out of this. And I really look forward to seeing Mesalands get back to where they have been in the past. Any other comments?
I appreciate everything Dr. Moss has done and certainly look forward to crawling out of this hole. So we will.
And we have a great staff, and I can't express how much I've enjoyed working with them and all the work that they've put into this too. And so, thank you.
Just
Well, I sure echo Richard and
same.
Tom's comments.
Yes.
It'll be tough, but if you need help, I think we got 5 board members that they'll speak up for Mesalands.
Thank
What
you.
I've seen so far.
Thank you.
All right. Fall semester begins in August the 12th. Holy moly. We just finished one.
Less than a month away.
And the calendar reports, our next meeting will be August the 20th.
Did we do the
Y'all decided time for the special meeting.
special
Oh,
meeting?
we
What was that?
Monday,
We don't have
9:30.
that.
Oh yeah, We don't have an action item, do we?
There's, I don't think you have.
We just
I
don't
think
have
you just
to.
have to post it.
We are planning on having a special meeting next Monday, I wrote the date down.
You think we can?
22nd?
We can make it by then? Okay.
What time?
I would say the earliest you guys can meet, but that's up to you all. If we need to leave it at 5:30, that's fine, or
I'm free all day.
I'd say in the morning if we can.
Yeah.
8 o'clock in the morning, that'd be fine.
I don't get up till it's
You don't get up till that?
I used to get up early, I don't anymore.
I have jury duty,
Oh,
Oh, my.
good luck.
yeah, so, but I would be done by 4:30.
That's the 22nd.
I would say don't go earlier than 4:30, cause I don't wanna have to write
Yeah.
stuff down for Margaret.
I do,
Okay.
4:30?
4:30.
4:30?
4:30 PM, okay.
Okay. All right. The only other thing is I did give a handout. We're gonna continue our education. And so I've got a handout for trusteeship 101. Everybody has that in your packet.
What's the date on Monday?
22nd.
22nd.
And so now I entertain a motion to adjourn. Unless somebody has other comments or questions.
I so moved we adjourn the meeting.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Ms. Stevenson,
Yes.
Mr. Sidwell,
Yes.
Mr. Sandoval,
Yes.
Mr. Box,
Yes.
and Mr. Kronos.
Yes.
And the meeting adjourned at 7:02.
Any mechanics in here?